was shocked to hear that this person, this mayor, would go to that extent.
When the mayor subpoenaed 5 pastors' sermons and notes because they had spoken out against the ordinance, she was trying to intimidate these 5 pastors, and it made national news. So that only added fuel to the fire and made me even more determined to help this group get the issue on the ballot.
Subpoenaing the sermons is kind of the thing that everybody remembers, but there were 17 different line items of information subpoenaed by the mayor, including all communications with our congregations regarding the mayor, the ordinance, or homosexuality, texts, emails, sermon notes, sermon materials, literally the kitchen sink. So they literally reached into the church walls and said, whatever you've got in there, whatever you've said, done, spoken from the pulpit or from your phone, we want it.
Esto fue para mí completamente un shock. Esto me estremeció. Esto me recordó cuando yo vivía en la Cuba comunista. Cuando yo no podía hablar, cuando yo no podía hablar de religión, para mí estas acciones fueron extremadamente a un punto extremo y de una amenaza. No solamente a mí, pero fue completamente para muchas personas, alcanzó a muchas naciones y pueblos. Quiero decirte que muchas personas me llamaron para entrevistas en televisión, en radio y en todo lo que es las televisiones cristianas. Muchas personas de diferentes lugares empezaron a llamarme para encontrar qué es la respuesta que yo tenía de lo que estaba sucediendo en este momento.
I remember well till today, the night that I was heading to my church, and it was a Tuesday, and it was a Bible study. And the people were waiting for me to teach that Bible study. And at the door of my church building, there was this lady standing there with the papers. And when I first met her, I said, welcome to our church. Are you coming for the Bible study? And when she said, no, I'm not coming to a Bible study, but I come to ask for your sermons and your text messages and everything else, then I realized at the door of my church building, where we pastor, where we teach, where we speak and love, that the government had come into our church building, that government had crossed the line, and that government was determined to silence us.
Around September, when I heard that our sermon will be subpoenaed, and along with many other forms of communication, it's a shock for me, because come from a communist country that I escaped from. We have that happen very often. Sermons have been revealed or censored by the authority, and we escaped Vietnam for that. And now come to this city, and when it's going on, I can't believe that it's happened here in Houston, Texas.
When she had subpoenaed my sermons, subpoenaed my tapes, I welcomed them. I sent a word to her, tell her come on. Anytime she get ready, she can come to church every Sunday if you want to. I'm not gonna change my message. I was surprised, real surprised at her going that far against God. I really was. But all things work together for good. Because she did that, she brought the attention of other pastors of other faiths, other denominations, to come to meet with her and decry her activities.
When I learned of the subpoenas, I immediately spoke up at council and I said, Mayor, it's wrong what you're doing. It's not right, it's wrong, and it's politically wrong. And I'm asking you to withdraw those subpoenas. And she said she wouldn't do it.
It was such a cloud over our city, and it started to mushroom, not only from Houston, it started going everywhere. I know quite a few pastors across the country. As I do, I speak in so many different cities. And I had pastors calling me from Chicago, from Oklahoma, from California. Willie, man, is this, we read this. Is this true? Yes, it's true. So you can only imagine how that made Houston look.
Out of this came the phrase, the Houston Five. The five of us, though, who were subpoenaed is a very interesting group. I can understand her subpoenaing Dave Welch, the head of the Houston Area Pastors Council and U.S. Pastors Council. She subpoenaed a Cuban immigrant who came here over religious freedom and was a woman. She subpoenaed one of the Vietnamese boat people. Con Nguyen, when he was just a youngster, his folks put him on a boat. He almost died on the way to America. And now he's pastored here in Houston for more than 20 years. And the fifth member, Hernan Castano, he is an immigrant from Colombia.
Of course, Steve Riggle, who had survived death as a young pastor and missionary on the mission field, and looking at this team going, it's like picking on the Avengers. It's like, why would you do that?
And when those subpoenas came, the five of us, with no question, we didn't have to sit around and wonder how we were going to respond to that. When those subpoenas came, the five of us immediately said, no way. It's not that we were opposed to the mayor having our sermons. We're very glad to give the mayor our sermons, if she'll read them or listen to them. But we're not going to do it because the state mandates us. There's some legal reasoning attempting not only to intimidate us, but to intimidate the whole pastoral community and silence their voice. And so we said, no way will we give these sermons out.
I still ask myself this day, what were they thinking? And I still don't understand, but I do know this. I do know that there was a divine intervention, and that what it was meant for evil, what was meant to destroy the values and to destroy our voice, God turned it for good, and it helped to awaken a giant, a church, a body of Christ, and to awaken the people of America.
Under no condition should you comply with this unlawful edict and set a precedent this way. Are you willing to go to jail to defend your rights to preach and freedom of religion?
Well, I'm very willing for the mayor and the city attorney to have all of my sermons. If they'll agree to read them, I would give them to them, but I'm not willing to hand them over because the state has demanded that I do that.
I'll come and bail you guys out. I believe in freedom of religion,
okay.
And regardless of what other pastors, I don't know if it's the same denomination, but I'd be glad to bail you guys out, and I may even bring you a cake with a file if you get sent to jail for preaching what you believe is your deeply held religious faith. All right? There's my promise. I'll bail you guys out.
Thank you.
One of the most encouraging experiences that I have had in my almost 14 years as the president of the Family Research Council was at I Stand Sunday in Houston, Texas, at the beginning when pastors walked into the cheers of the community. I remember one in particular, a pastor holding his Bible above his head, and the cheers, the applause of the entire sanctuary. That sent a message that when a pastor stands, he doesn't stand alone.
And we're gonna beat City Hall!
I had the privilege of being there and participating in that event. God took a very demonic act of serving a subpoena on pastors for their sermons and turned it to good. Because all of a sudden, not just in Texas or Houston, but all over the country, there was this wildfire of uniform support to say, I may not like what you say, but I defend your right to say it.
Let the people vote!
The I Stand Houston was just a phenomenal event. And one of the things that was so profound about it was the turnout. It was 10,000 people inside of that sanctuary, 10,000. And then people was tuned in across the internet and everywhere. My wife was in Louisville, Kentucky at the time, and she watched the whole thing on her computer.
Let this decision be made. Oh, that was an outstanding meeting. I enjoyed that. I appreciate the fact that those persons that on city council that came to the meeting, some were converted, some changed their mind because they saw the outpouring of the religious community, not just religious community, because I believe there's people in there wasn't not religious, but yet had the idea that that's the wrong kind of lifestyle. And so they supported that move. They packed that house that day.
Again, the lawsuit was about one simple question. Did we or did we not turn in enough valid signatures? Okay. And so all of this peripheral about what we preached on, what we said to our congregations about the ordinance and all that was simply fallacious in the use of intimidation, and that was pretty self-evident.
The pressure was growing on the mayor tremendously. She began to backpedal, and it was only a matter of time until she actually rescinded the subpoenas. And what was interesting is they did this in a press room upstairs off the mayor's office. And so the council members all came up, and she asked all the council members to come stand with her. Only one would stand with her. None of the rest of them would even stand with her. In fact, when I went up there and our attorney went up there, there were 5 or 6 of the council members who came and immediately encircled us.
Nosotros nunca supimos por qué ellos quitaron la supina. Esto fue un misterio para nosotros, pero lo que yo sí estoy segura, que Dios está en el medio de nuestra situación y de cada situación de cada persona.
The subpoenas were removed not because they wanted to take them out. They were removed because there was a tremendous cry out from the nation, from east to west, from north to south. Every minister, every man, every woman that just knew that this was not to be allowed to happen in America spoke out, made phone calls, sent text messages, emails. Bibles were sent to City Hall.
If we hadn't stood up to the mayor, not only would she have done that in Houston, Texas, but that would have happened all across the country, because other public officials would have felt emboldened as a way to squash any kind of dissent or someone speaking out against their opinion.
Our greatest prayer, and it continues to be to this day, is that this would never, ever happen again in any church in America, to any pastor, to every Christian believer, to every business owner, that it would never happen again.
And now people have been emboldened across the country. Pastors are speaking out, and in a number of places, these laws have either not gone through or they have been reversed. And so you can see what takes place if a few people will simply stand up and say, we're not going to take this anymore.
Frankly, with the judge we were going before had been financially and politically supported by the LGBT political caucus. So the question was whether we were better off between a biased judge or a jury in what became a very technical lawsuit, very technical case. And it was somewhat intimidating for a lot of us who'd never been through something quite like that.
And it was a zoo. It was a zoo. It was the most outrageous, low standard of legal representation that I'd ever seen in my life, from the judge, one, and from the attorneys. Now, here is a little small group of pastors, and the city felt that they had a need to go and get 2 of the largest law firms in America to go against one attorney. And of course, they pulled every opportunity. You know, they tried the first when we filed a lawsuit, they take it up to the district court, tried to get the district court to hold it up past the election time. Of course, the court surprised them, came back within 3 days and said, nope, this is a civil matter and it needs to be dealt with at the civil level. So now he postpones it to after the election time. So, you know, we knew the direction it was going. So that's why I say it was really a zoo.
The jury trial was a very hard-fought battle. I have to tell you that there were times when I became concerned about whether we were going to lose, not because of the merits of our position, but because of the sheer power and the force of government being against the citizen. And that weighed heavily on me personally as we went through the trial.
Every morning we got up 4 in the morning, and we knew we were heading to the courthouse. And we knew we had our own duties to do as pastors, and pastoring 2 churches and then ministering to the people. But we felt that we needed to be in that courthouse to pray, to give the witness to what was happening.
I spent 5 hours on the witness stand, so I guess that was certainly a first for me, being grilled by a hostile opposing attorney. Some of our signature gatherers were put on the witness stand, and others by the city attempting to essentially prove, in fact they used the word repeatedly, that we fraudulent and misleading, and they were essentially accusing us of having committed fraud.
I was there every day they had a trial. When you have nitpicking at signatures and nitpicking at addresses and that kind of thing like that, when people have done these things for years without that kind of thing, nobody worried about that. If the person said I lived it and signed my name, if I want to sign my name Floyd Nathaniel Williams and sign FNW, that's me. If I'm certified on my license, driver's license, that I signed my name with F-W, that's my signature. But when he started letting them pick around that, I knew then that we were going to have an uphill battle.
It was like a battle every day, listening how they would try and bring false accusations, like the signatures were not the signatures of the person that signed it, like this is not someone's signature. And so it was a game of math. It was like, okay, knock these 10,000 signatures out because a paper was not signed in the proper place.
The form that the city provides, that we used, has a line on it that's not quite a half-inch long. It doesn't say anything about what the line is. It looks like a page break. That's the signature line. Doesn't even say you're supposed to have a signature. There's no explanation. And how the city said all of these forms that they disqualified were disqualified because people didn't sign on that line. But there was nothing that told people to sign on the line.
I come there every day and watching, and in disbelief every day. Things is going on, and the reason that the excuse that they have for to reject, disqualify the signature is outrageous. I know that it's a process, the way the law is played out here in this country, but we know that this manipulation is all over in the background.
I sat in the courtroom every day with my Bible in my hand. And every time one of the witnesses would come against us, I held the Bible up where they could see it. So I never felt discouraged because I feel like God's will is going to be done. And that's really my basis. I could not have come this far in life at 88 years old and not knowing that God's will is first.
The judge was a Democrat judge. He had been endorsed by the LGBT community, and so he decided at the end that we lost. We gained a bunch of signatures back, but fell just a little short.
We come just 500 signatures short out of 55,000 signatures. We strongly believe, that it was the wrong decision by the judge. We pray that in the future, wherever he's making decisions, that he would not make decisions like this because it's wrong. How far and how influential can someone that wants to overpower the right of the people be within a courthouse?
I feel very disappointed because I believe in the law and justice here in America. But on that day, I feel like it has to be a new way, a new day, in order for us to keep the freedom and what we have been enjoying here in this country.
Realmente esto fue una tristeza. Yo me enteré y yo sentí que esto era una injusticia porque estos realmente fueron colectadas más de 50,000 firmas. Esto nos fue dicho a nosotros después de un año de estar en la corte. Nosotros sentimos que realmente y sentimos la unidad en todo el grupo que nosotros debíamos de presentar esta decisión a un lugar mayor, a una cosa mayor, que era a la Corte Suprema de Texas.
But we decided not to give up, because how can you give up when you're fighting for the values of the citizens of a city? How can you give up when you're fighting for the future of your families? How can you give up when you're speaking out in truth and representing religious